Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Libby from Hero Arts, and I'm so glad you're here for our My Monthly Hero Make-Along. I see a lot of people popping in and leaving comments. Please do let us know that you're here in the comments so we know who's joining us and from where. We're so happy you're here. Today we're going to be doing 2 cards from start to finish using the September My Monthly Hero Kit. Let me show you a picture of that real quick, what it looks like. There are still some available, not many, but a few left. So if you love what you see today and you want to grab this kit to make these cards in the future, you're welcome to. This live will be available for replay after we're done today. So you could always reference back to it and make some cards with this wonderful September kit. It did include a stamp set with some great messages, a cling background stamp, some frame cuts, and a sheet of rub-ons. And the rub-ons are really fun. They actually match with the die, the main big bouquet. So you can use the die to cut out your rub-on. And then we've also started selling those same rub-ons separately. So if you used your rub-ons already and you're sad and you want more, we have more available. So with that said, I also want to just mention that if you make a card with this kit, inspired by today's make-along or just in general, we have a Facebook group. It's not actually a Hero Arts Facebook group, but we're active in it. And it's called Hero Arts Kit Fanatics. And if you upload your card there in the album for this month's kit, you'll be in the running for a gift card. So I encourage you to make along and have some fun with our artists today. And without any further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Shannon, who will be making the first card today. All right, have fun.
Hi everyone, it's Shannon here. I'm going to pull up my card real quick so you can see what we're creating. I shared this one during the countdown. No, actually during the blog hop. And this one's kind of a fun take on the image because we take the vase and turn it into kind of like a pumpkin. It's really easy to do. So I'll show you how to do that. Plus we will Copic color this image. It's a really beautiful bouquet. And what's a little bit different about how I approach this is that we stamp it in a brown ink. So something a little different look. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take the camera away from my face and down to my work surface so we can get started on today's card. All right, sorry, I'm slow. All right, we're good. Just make sure everybody can hear me. All right, so let's start by stamping the image. The brown ink I'm going to use today is Cup of Joe. Open up my Misty here. Oh, it's got lag again. Hopefully it's not the whole time. I'm going to pull out that large bouquet. And then I'm going to grab some of the Deluxe white cardstock. So just whatever you like to use for Copic coloring. Pop it into my Misty. There we go. Pick it up. And I'm actually going to stamp this twice. Or, well, actually I'm going to stamp it multiple times, but I'm going to stamp it first, just get a light impression just so I can see the flowers, the image. Then I will pop it back into my Misty and stamp it again to really kind of crisp it up, but that's going to be after I Copic color. So I want to be really mindful that when I position my paper in here, that I have it in the corner, nice and snug, so when I do pop my paper back in, my bouquet is nice and aligned. I usually like to do this for my Copic images, even though you have a risk of getting it offset, but I really think it helps to enhance the lines. So this is Cup of Joe, a really nice dark brown. And just really good, really try to ink this up. You see lag here. Again, I'm going to double check, make sure it's in the corner. And now I'll stamp. Grab the scrubber because it's a great way to kind of press all over. All right, and that's a beautiful image. I'm going to go straight to Copic coloring with that. Put that down. not remove my stamp and keep that in there because I'm going to stamp later. And let's grab some Copics. So even though this is a detailed image, I don't think I can zoom in. Maybe, oh, I don't think I can get any closer. I'll have to stop and hold it up to the camera. The smaller parts are actually pretty easy to Copic color. There's just lots of them. And I'm thinking of where to start. Let's start with the grass here. These like big, what do they call? I don't know what they call grass. And I have two kind of tans picked out, E30 and E31. And I'm going to start with my light. Color pretty much the whole thing. And I colored a little bit of another image, but like a flower, but that's okay. It's all right. Then I'll grab my darker E31. Get a minute here. And start coloring kind of the base, like the bottom portion. So we have a nice gradation over this grass. And you can even add a little bit here and there for a little bit more interest. Try to get as much of it as I can. Sometimes you might have to come back to some parts I'll definitely miss some parts, but I'll come back to it. All right, those guys are done. Now let's move on to the yellow flowers. Two colors for that. Y21 and YR23. So what I'm coloring yellow is these like pom-pom-like flowers. They're like balls. Start with Y21, which is my light. Just color the whole flower. Gotta find them all, that's the trickiest part. And I think I got them all. I'll keep my flower, my original here for reference. It helps me. Then I'll grab my darker shade, YR23. Yes, it is laggy today. I don't know why. I closed everything. I'm going to have to talk to my husband. We're going to have to fix things, I guess. I don't know what's going on. So just added a little bit of that darker yellow to the kind of the under parts of the flowers. And then you can blend it out. You don't really have to do much blending when they're really tiny like this. So I'm just going to blend that transition between that darker shade and lighter shade. It goes pretty fast. No, not just you, Linda. I see it on my end too, which is a bummer. I was hoping I got it all fixed, all worked out. Maybe fingers crossed things will get better. All right. Now let's move on to the orange flowers. And I kind of think these are either carnations or maybe peonies, not sure, but they're going to be orange. Just two oranges picked out, YR00 and YR02. Hold it for a second. Okay, start with the light. Let's color these carnation-like flowers. Kind of start with the flowers and then we'll do the leaves. It's easier to see the leaves after I've colored all the flowers. And I think that's it. They're kind of all over here in a cluster. Then we'll grab our darker shade. And just a little bit at the base of each petal, where the petal would meet kind of the center of the flower. The trick here is just not to color the whole petal. You want some of that contrast. You want to see some of the light and the dark. So a little goes a long way. And some parts are going to be like, well, I'm not sure where the base of the petal is. Just do your guess. It's not, you don't have to stress about it. Just take your best guess. And I'm not sure, I'll put it in a spot where I know I'll get more contrast. Okay. That's it for the orange flowers. Now let's move on to their maroon flowers. So they're kind of like daisies, I guess. 2 colors picked out for that. So keeping the palette pretty simple. So R39 and R85. Ooh, okay, there we go. And they're hiding all around in here. I'm going to color all the petals, but I'm going to not color the centers of the flowers. They're the tiniest ones we've colored so far. Let's see, got a couple over here. These are the ones I always miss just because they're the teeny tiniest. With a really kind of fall color palette, at least I tried. So more jewel tone kind of colors. I think that's what's so pretty about this bouquet, is it can really makes a beautiful fall bouquet. Did I get them all? I'm looking at my original here. I think I did. Now grab that darker shade. And we're just again going to add it to the base. A little bit goes a long way here. Basically right at the center. Just that little bit of additional color adds a lot more interest. Even though it's teeny tiny. Some areas were just like too small. That's okay. Just don't do them. No big deal. All right. Now we're going to move on. Let's do the centers real quick of those flowers. I'm just going to use a yellow that we used before. This is the dark yellow that we used on the yellow flowers, the pom-poms, YR23. I'm going to hold it here for a minute to hopefully get that lag. It's not being visible. And just quickly color in the centers. Nothing, just color those in real quick with the yellow. Real easy. All right, we're moving along beautifully. Let's do the kind of the star of the show, those big, beautiful poppies. Since they're a bigger flower, I actually have 3 colors picked out for those. I'm just going to quickly double check that that's what I have. we're going to use R05, E08, so kind of a rust color, and then some dark red, which is 59, R59. Starting with that R05, and let's actually use the brush tip. And I'm going to color the whole flower, all the petals, except for the center. We'll color the center later. I know almost everybody's favorite flower is peonies, I swear. But I think I have a new appreciation for poppies. I think poppies are so pretty. Definitely thought, when I first saw the image, like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty, but how am I going to color all these things? But I'm surprised how easy this image is actually to color. It's one of those ones that look complicated. I mean, there are a lot of parts, but it comes together really quickly, and I think that's because everything's small. So you don't have to do a lot of gradations. You don't have to blend it out. It comes together pretty quick. Ooh, look how pretty that color is. Yes, I knew you'd like poppies, Rosie. They're like, is that the state flower of California? We're going on to E08 now, our medium, starting from the center and working out. So because these poppies are bigger, we're going to actually spend more time kind of doing a gradation over the petals than we've done. Like a lot of the flowers, we didn't even blend it out after we added the dark. But these are bigger, so we'll take a little bit more time. But bigger, I mean, they're still tiny. Dropping markers. Now we'll go on to the darkest, R59. And at the very with that dark color. Very little is needed for this, just a tiny bit, just kind of basically tracing along that edge where the petal meets the center of the flower. Great, and I'm going to blend this out just a bit. Back with our medium shade. And then I think I'll even take the lightest shade and do a little blending too. We're back to R05. Whoops, and I'm coloring outside the lines. Okay, that's why we have white gel pens, right? And colors unders. I'm using the brush. So bullet would be fine too, but I'm using the brush. Let's see if it will pause and see. So the sketch and the chow both have brushed. But you can use the bullet too. I prefer the brush though. That's just my preference. I wouldn't recommend the chisel. That's the only one I wouldn't recommend. Okay, now let's move on to the centers for the poppies. We're going to start with a lime kind of green. This is YG03. There you go. Kind of focused on it. Great. And just color the very center. You look at these flowers, they kind of have two rings. Let's see if I can hold it up. Like a center circle and then an outer ring around that center circle. The center one we're going to color with that light green. And not all of them is it visible, just those. And then for the outer ring, we're going to go black. Or, well, dark gray, I should say. C7 and C5. There we go. Start with C5. Color the whole ring. And this is the tricky part. Then I'm going to take this C7 and I'm waiting for it to unlag. Might be a fool's errand, but I'm going to color right along that center ring, right where it meets the very center with that darkest shade. And it's not too bad because I'm even holding it up there here and getting around there. Do the last one. And I think I'll add even a little bit to this. These last two, I'll just, for these bigger ones, I'll take that light gray and just kind of blend it, that darker gray out just a bit, just a bit. It's a little harsh. Oh, I'm so bummed it's lagging for you guys. I'm sorry. I really tried. Okay, so those guys are done. Now we have the only other flower we have left are these dried lotuses. And for those, we have 3 browns, starting with E31, which is one we've used already on the grass. And I'm going to color the whole lotus head, I guess, with that light brown, basically a tan, really. Then we're going to take our medium brown, which is E57. And I'm going to color around the little circles in the opening the best I can. If you color some, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Just you want to keep some of them. You don't want to lose them all. Just using like the very tip of my brush nib. I'll do the same thing to this one. And I definitely colored in some of the little circles, so don't stress. They're a lot and they're tiny, so you probably will color in a few. That's all right. Great. And then I'm going to color the sides a little bit here. All right, now for our dark E29. We'll start by coloring the stem. This one's got a longer one kind of hiding behind, but I think we got it all. And then we're going to color that side kind of view of the, it's kind of the bottom part. You can kind of see from the side. Color that a little bit. And then the last thing we're going to do, let me hold it up so you can see what we've done so far. Please focus. Then we're going to add a little darker color to those openings. Not color the whole thing, just add a little touch to them that just adds a little depth. Try not to color them all. You can even kind of color the outside instead of actually coloring right at the opening. But it adds a lot. That little bit of darker brown adds a lot. Let's see. Focus, focus. You see how those little a little bit of darker brown really helps to make those holes in that lotus, dried lotus kind of pop. Do it here on this guy. Okay, that's basically it for those. I might take this medium shade and just color the under part here a little bit more. This medium, which was Eve 57 again. And that's it. So now we're ready to start tackling some of the greenery. Now I actually have two greens picked out, two green combos. Keep on the time here. We're doing splendid. All right, so for the first green combo, I'm going to do this sage green combo, and I have, where's my mark? That's the one I dropped on the floor, huh? Of course. Question is, where did it go? Here we go. We're going to start with G21. We have three colors, so we're going to start with G21. And everything I'm going to color with the sage, let's grab my original here. I just never like to use one grouping of greens when I color a bouquet. I like to mix it up. So we're going to color these flowers here, or these leaves. Huh, they're not flowers. That look more rounded, more almond-like. Color those. I'm going to color the poppies. So the ones that are like the buds or I don't know, are they hips like roses after they've bloomed? We're going to color those. I don't know if those are buds or hips. And it really, you don't have to like stick to, like if you color the poppy with the other green combo that we use later, that's totally fine. This is not there's not a hard and fast rule. I just don't want one green combo being in one spot. I want to spread it out kind of evenly. So I want to make sure I get some of this sage green combo and other areas of the bouquet so it's balanced out. Oop, and I missed a poppy here. So I'm actually going to color these guys. The olive combo when we get to it later. For that very reason, I want to kind of spread it out. Color these ones here. Even though they're the more almond shaped ones. And we'll do that one too. Okay, that's where I'm going to stop. Then we'll move on to our medium, which is BG93. Wait for a second here. This is I realize I don't know what things are called. Every time I start coloring, it's like, wow, I don't know what, I thought I knew what things were called, but I don't. So just color the base with this medium color. Color a little bit up the stem, but not the whole stem. About a little bit, like 2/3 of the leaves with this base color, this medium color, I mean, rather. This is a really pretty kind of bluey green. I really like this marker color. And we're almost done. Just color that. That's the medium. Then we'll finish up with BG 96. There we go. And that's at the last third where the leaf meets the stem. And then for the poppies, it's kind of at the base of the bulb of the poppy and at the base of the stem, where the stem kind of gets engulfed by the rest of the bouquet. All right, and the last thing I'll do for these leaves is just blend it out a little bit with that medium shade again, which was BG 93. So this is the medium shade. Just going to blend out that transition between the dark and the medium just a bit. Okie dokie. That's it. So we only have two more kind of areas to color. The other green, which is the olive green combo. We're going to start with that limey green we used for the center of the poppies, which is YG03. So this is with the easy part. Now you just color any greenery that's left. So any leaves and stems that are left. And if you can't tell for sure it's a leaf, if it's something you should color, no one else can. So don't stress about it. Just color it. It won't look bad. You can't tell, nobody else is going to be able to tell. See, I'm not sure if that's a leaf, but it's a leaf now. And color that there, make those leaves too. All right, hold it up so you can kind of see. So that's all the remaining leaves and stems colored with that limey green. Now our next shade, I gotta bounce real quick and see. I forgot, just double checking. YG93. An olivey color. Where is it? Here it is. Focus, focus. YG93. So this is our medium. So again, we're going to color about 2/3 up the leaf with that medium shade. So just add that illusion of some roundness to those leaves. Add that illusion of depth. Just a little bit, a little extra step, but it makes them not look so flat. If you were to color them in like one color. Oops. And then our darkest shade is YG67. Yes, I'm in the need of some refills too. I've finally pretty good right now on my refills. But every once in a while I'll pull out a marker and be like, oh, I need a refill for this. I don't have a refill for this. So this green is very dark compared to the medium. It's really stepped up a level in intensity and darkness. So I'm definitely going to blend this out with my medium because it's just too stark of a contrast. It doesn't have a gradation. So we'll blend it out a little bit with our medium, and then we'll be done with our greenery. Hold it up real quick so you can see. So just those you can see on those lime greens that transition is really abrupt. So we're going to blend that out with our medium shade so it's not so harsh, which is again YG93. See if I can hold it up here and so you can see it be a little closer because I can't zoom in. I can't make my stand go any lower. These really thin leaves, though, it just takes a tiny bit to kind of blend it out. Make sure I got them all. All right. I think that's pretty good. Now the pumpkin or our vase. We're going to use 3 colors. The 2 new colors is YR16 and our medium is YR68, and then our dark will be R05, which we've already used. Starting simply by coloring the whole kind of, we're not going to color the pedestal, the whole kind of like circle part here with this orange. Oops, and I colored a little bit of the leaf, but I'm not worried about it. It's fine. Oops, and I noticed I missed some centers of flowers. See, I always miss something. I never noticed it until till later. Clean up where I messed it. Colored a little too much outside lines. Missed that flower center. Okay, there. I think I got all the ones I missed. Golden Retriever mix and a Shepherd Husky mix. Cute. My Sip's sister is visiting right now, and she has 2 Norwegian elk hounds. And one's a puppy. And it is so cute. Full of energy. Take the medium, which is YR68, and we're going to color up the bottom using that kind of feathered stroke where you press down more at the base and then lift up so you get kind of a lighter stroke. That helps with your blending. By the way, everything I learned about Copic coloring is from Kelly. Kelly taught me how to Copic color. So she's the master. I'm the student. She broke it down for me. I thought it was intimidating, and she broke it down. And I was like, okay, I think I can do this. Oops. And then I'm going to take that darker shade and go right along, that medium shade, rather, right along the ribs, I guess, of the pumpkin. I don't know, those ridges, maybe that's the right word. See, again, don't know what things are called. And then darker shade. Holding it here. R05, so a red, really. Right along those ridges again. Right over them, really simple. Really starts to make that, pushes them in. And then do that feathered stroke at the bottom. Add some of that darker orange there. And then I'm going to go right along where the flowers and the leaves meet the pumpkin. Add that darker red to make it kind of look like a shadow. They're casting a shadow on that pumpkin. I'll hold it up here. So fat rolls. Yes, the fat rolls of the pumpkin. Those beautiful rolls. Is that going to focus? Focus. There we go. So that's basically our pumpkin. Now the only other thing you can do, the last little step, and this is extra, definitely extra, is you can see how there's these white openings here in between the flowers, like kind of at the center of the bouquet where it should be pretty green because everything's kind of meeting and getting condensed right in there. You can grab one of your greens, one of your medium greens. So either YG93, that was our olive green combo, or BG93, one of these, doesn't matter which. I think I'm going to use the lighter, the sage one, so BG93 is what I'm using. And I'm just going to color in a little bit of some of these white areas just because it looks a little stark. Like it should be, have some color down there because there should be a lot of leaves kind of packed in down there. Just color in a little bit. Doesn't have to be the whole thing. I'm going to stop about there. That's it. Just kind of darken up some of those white areas so it looks like the center. And that's it. That's all our coloring. And that's the most time-consuming part of this card. So we've got it done. So now I'm going to grab my Missy here. And we're going to stamp it again. So even though right now it looks pretty good, but it's going to look even better after we stamp it with the brown again. If I could pick up my magnet, it's stuck. There we go. So pop it in, make sure it's nice and in that corner. Nice and snug in the corner. And you can even check just to make sure. Kind of look to the side and see, okay, everything looks lined up. Now we're going to ink this up again with that Cup of Joe. Let's see, maybe we'll stamp it twice. We'll see, maybe just once. Oh, great, looks good. I think I'm gonna stamp it one more time. Vanessa, don't give up on it. You should try stamping it again. You sometimes it looks messy, and then when you stamp it with this second couple layers of ink, it cleans it up. I swear by it. I know I'm holding my breath too. But there it is. It's a lot more, all the outline is much more intense. It really cleans up everything. It's surprising what a big difference it makes. It is a little scary, I admit, but I do even still because I think the end result makes such a big difference. All right, now we're ready to die cut this out. Oh no, Melissa, I'm sorry. That's the worst. If that is not something you want to do, what you could do to avoid it is you could try heat embossing. That will sometimes help to keep the colors nice and intense, so you don't have to stamp it twice. But heat embossing is a little tricky with Copic markers. Sometimes it's not so good with your Copics. Or you just stamp it with like the black ink, get it nice and intense, and then that way you don't have to stamp it again later. That works too. You can use the intensified black ink. All right, so I've got that. Use a Copic safe pen to outline too. See, Kelly's got all the tricks. Like I said, Kelly's the master with Copics. She's the one who taught me. All right, I just lined the die up. Now I'm gonna run it through my die cutting machine. And you may have noticed I didn't bother to mask or anything that lower portion of the pedestal because there's no need. We're going to cut it off, and then I'll show you a little trick for hiding those lines. Okay, that's what it looks like so far. Okay, I'm gonna grab my scissors and I'm gonna cut off this pedestal, but I wanna make sure I leave a little border that matches this border here, kind of the same thickness. So I don't wanna cut right up to the stamp line of our pumpkin. Great. So you should have something like this. Yeah, she did a good job teaching. She's the queen of coloring. Now I'm going to take a white gel pen, and then I'm going to actually simply color over those stamped lines that you can see in that border. It's amazing how well this works. This will work on black too. Just a little bit of white really kind of makes your eye, makes those lines disappear. Even if you can kind of see it a little bit, but if nobody else is going to know that they're there. Let's see if I can give this a minute for it to. See, look, they're like gone. They disappeared just with that little bit of white gel pen. Tiny bit. Amazing. I love that trick. All right, so now I've got a panel here of, I believe it's Plum. I love Hero Arts green cardstocks. This one is Plum. Yep, just wanted to double check. Plum cardstock. Isn't that pretty? Oh, so good. Look how nice it looks with the greens from our bouquet to make them bring them out. Now I can't just leave something plain cardstock. I've got to do a little ink blending to it. So I've grabbed Forever Green, and we're going to ink blend the four corners, kind of bringing your eye in a little bit. Let me get a little scratch piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to start blending inward. I'm going to make a mess on my work surface here, but that's okay. This adds so much drama. I love blending on top of colored cardstock because it's easier and it looks so intense, and you get smoother blends that way. And the intensity is kind of built up by the already colored cardstock, so you don't have to take as much ink or much time blending. It's so awesome. Oh, thanks, Kelly. It's the cardstocks. I love Hero Arts. Hero Arts has tons of greens cardstocks, which I love because for some reason I can't. I can always find. I always know I'm going to find the right green color cardstock with Hero Arts. Because I like these more. I like these more olivey green colors. That's my favorite. Okay. So that's that. And it looks more stark on. We'll just do a little bit more blending. Because on camera it looks a little harsh. Just kind of soften it a little bit. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Now we'll grab some black for even more drama. Now this is pitch black core, Hero Arts core. And I'm just going to do a tiny bit to the corners. Tap off the excess. Just a little bit. Super pretty. Let's see how that looks. And I'll just do a tiny bit more forever green. Just on the edges here. All right, calling it done. And you can see when I put how that draws your eye in to the bouquet, which is nice. Kind of scales down the background. It's not so big. And now let's finish up with our sentiment. We're going to do a heat emboss sentiment. So I'm going to grab my anti-static powder bag, my embossing watermark ink, of course my Misty. Yes, the background stamp. I even stamped on this card. I didn't actually mount this card onto a card base, but the background stamp, which is gorgeous, this guy right here, let's give it a minute. It'd be beautiful this stamped on the palm in the forever green, which I can show you here. I just chose not to do it, but look at how beautiful that is. And if you put the bouquet on that, that's another option. Let's hold a minute here. See how beautiful that would be too? That's another option. You can use that background stamp. I just ultimately decided to stick with the blended. There's your card making secrets where we try stuff and we don't like it, so we just use the other side. All right, let's take this image out of the way. Yeah, the background's a big keeper. So so many different, like it would work for so many different styles of cards. All right, so I'm going to grab my pitch black cardstock because I'm going to stamp it on black, of course, my favorite. Black and white. Add my anti-static powder. I'm going to do Hello Fall, but there's lots of great linear sentiments like sending gratitude. You know what? I think I'm going to do sending gratitude. Oh, let's do Hello Fall. But like thank you or thinking of you, any of those would work. Put the Hello Fall down here real quick. Let's pick it up. This would be a really pretty thank you card, I think. All right, let's ink this up. Yeah, I do. Usually I don't feel like I have such a hard time, but today I keep knocking that magnet down into its little cubby and I can't get it out. And we're going to dip it into the white. They are. I love the sentiments in this kit. I'm a sucker for linear sentiments. Okay, now we'll heat set real quick with our heat tool. And there's a lot in this kit. And I love how they look like, I don't know, kind of type-like. Type font. All right, so I'm gonna turn my heat gun on. It's gonna be a little noisy. All right. And you could take a paper trimmer to trim this if you like. My favorite way is to use a cutting mat, a ruler, and a craft knife. That's my favorite way to make these sentiment strips. Okay. Line it up. That's just the way I feel like I get the best results. I have a hard time with my paper trimmer getting the same spacing above and below the letters. I'm better with a ruler and a craft knife. And then I'll grab my scissors to trim the last bit. Oh, wow, really? That's awesome. I never got a typewriter for card making. I do have one of those what are they called? The letter makers, label makers. There you go. My brain not working. Label makers that you kind of press, you squeeze, and it pops, you know, impresses a letter. I have one of those that I haven't used, but I got it for card making because I really like that sentiment strip look. All right, let's bring it all together. I'm gonna grab a card base real quick. Yes, Dymo label maker, exactly. That's what I have, one of those. Bought it just for card making. Though we had one growing up, but it, you know, is gone now. All right, we're gonna start with some liquid glue just to adhere the Plum cardstock panel to the base. Just gonna use liquid glue. Stick that down. I'm using a A2 top folding card base, but turned on its side. Yes, way before autocorrect, which is a problem for me because I'm very much dependent upon autocorrect, and that still doesn't help me, I would say, half the time. I'm still making mistakes. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little foam adhesive. Cut a strip and just add it to the back side of my bouquet. Place it down. Then since this is overlapping the bouquet, I'm going to add a little tiny bit, one layer on this side of black cardstock, you know, just cardstock really, to balance it out so now it'll kind of go over that bouquet better. So just cut a little strip and we'll glue it onto the back side of fall essentially. And that little bit of extra thickness is going to make sure everything sits nice and flat. Probably overkill, but oh, I need a whole extra strip. No, I don't. Yeah, that'll be like that. Yeah, that'll be fine. but I like it when it lays nice and flat. Then I add a little strip of foam adhesive. And I'll stick that down. Oops, I'll add a little bit of adhesive to the hold it for a second here. You guys aren't late. You're just in time for Kelly's. All right, and that's the finished card. What's that on there? So such a really beautiful bouquet, and I don't think it's too hard to cope with color. Because all the flowers and leaves are really small, so the blending goes really quick. And it'd be fun to try out different color palettes with this bouquet, I think. All right, now we're on to Kelly's card. Thank you, everybody. And I apologize about the lagging. Hopefully next time will be better.
I was muted. I was muted. Darn it. Okay, let me try that again. Thank you, Shannon. You were amazing as always. And sorry I was muted. I was trying not to make noise, and then I forgot to make noise when I needed to. So I just want to remind you guys that we do put together a handout that was on our blog yesterday. It has both the cards we're doing today on it. So if you wanted to know those Copic colors that Shannon used and all the supplies Kelly's about to use, you can find that on the blog. I think I put it maybe in the description of this video, and I also put it in the comments. So that's available for you if you want to refer to it, print it out, keep it. And then I also wanted to say, make sure you're commenting, because we're going to give away 2 cards at the end of this. We're going to give away the cards that Shannon and Kelly are making today. So if you want to win an actual masterpiece from our artists, then make sure you're having your comments coming. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Kelly. So I'm going to add her to the stream here. Oops, there's everybody. Sorry, guys. And over to Kelly. I think we're getting a little echo, but I'm going to take myself off.
I just want to say that echo is probably my fault. Did you mute me? Thank you. So that issue was my issue, because I was trying to figure out the chat and Dear Libby was trying to help me. And so I accidentally exit out. But now we're back again. I think that should fix the echo. There we go. We're winning. So I'm going to be doing some ink blending and some Copa coloring as well. I'll show you my card here. This was actually my countdown card during the kit countdown. And so we're going to do a little coloring. Maybe not like you would expect it, but a little bit of coloring and a little bit of ink blending to make this super pretty fall card. So, all right, let's do it. Let's go to the desktop. I'm going to add some extra light here. Okay, sorry. Trying to figure out the volume situation for me. So here is I just have them in a little stamp kit. They have a lot of beautiful images in this one, but we're just going to be using the main image and one of the sentiments. And I have 2 pieces, one that will hold all of my pieces after we're done, and one that we're going to ink blend. So we're going to get nice and messy here. I've got a couple of different reactive inks that I'm going to use. You don't necessarily have to use the reactive inks. If you have the Hero Core inks, those will work as well. I just like how bright these colors are. You know, Shannon's over here like, I totally dig the fall colors, and mine is fall-ish, but it's like on the bright side of fall, you know, because I can't just embrace the jewel tones. Before we started before we started doing this, I like sat down and I got all my items out to make sure that I would have everything that I needed because it's been a long time since I've done a line. So you guys got to bear with me. So I'm just going to start. This is totally random. I'm going to fill up this whole panel, even though I'm probably not going to use it because my intention is to stamp one here and be able to die cut it. And then in saving cardstock, stamp one here and then die cut it. So they'll both fit on the same piece of cardstock before we do the die cutting. And then you can just add color as you like. This is not, there is no wrong way to do it. All these colors blend really nicely together. So you just kind of add it where you would like to. I'm trying to look at the comments while I'm doing this, but I think Libby will help me out if there's something that I'm missing. So usually when I'm adding color, this is one of my smaller brushes. I'm going to tell you a secret. It's because I don't really love red. That's why I picked it. I picked it for the smaller brush because I knew I probably wouldn't use it a lot. Isn't that sad? My red is my husband's favorite color, and I can't get on board, y'all. I can't do it. So I like to, if you guys have seen me create before, you know that when I do my ink blending, I like to do everything twice, just because I feel like it gives me the best blend. And I also like to work in a pattern of 3. So I've got my 3 little spots here of red, and then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next color. And for me, that's going to be Creamsicle, which is just a really bright orange. And I'm going to overlap the colors, but I'm not necessarily always going to put this one next to the red. When I say it's really random, I mean it. That's genuine. So I do try to pay a little bit of attention in this center area, that I don't just leave it kind of unattended, because if I'm only ever adding colors around the edges, then unless you have a color that makes friends with everybody, like everybody can sit at their table, that's why I like blue so much, but there ain't no blue in this card. You have to have something in here to fill up your space. So I try to make sure that I get that out of the way nice and early, so that way I'm not left with this big blank area that I have no idea how I'm going to fill it up. Am I on there? I feel like I keep scooting it towards me, which I apologize. My card making handle is home of the cussy cutting girl. We could be friends. Oh, that's great. That is fantastic. So here I'm going to use this yellow as like a little bit of a buffer. So I'm going to swoop it down and connect it to each one of my oranges. So that way I don't have to worry about anything in this, like I'm going to put green in this corner. I don't have to worry about anything being like not pretty or brown or yucky, because I've kind of used that yellow as a buffer. And I do that also, not necessarily in this card, but in other cards, you can use yellow as a buffer if you're Copic blending as well with certain cards. I do need to be careful with the yellow. The berry smoothie isn't too bad because it's more of a pinky purple, but yellow and purple are complementary colors, just like red and green are. So sometimes if you make them make friends, they can be kind of brown, which isn't real pretty. But these reactive inks, I think just because they do tend to be a bit on the brighter side, it's not really anything that I noticed an issue with when I was creating the card. Also, another thing to note, I am just going through each and every color and I'm not cleaning up my work surface. That does mean that I'm going to pull some of the colors that are sitting on top of my glass board. Again, that's not something I noticed any issue with, but if it does bother you that it's going to contaminate your other color, then you're probably going to want to clean in between each color. So we'll do a little bit here. And here I just told you, like the green and the red are complementary colors, and so you have to be careful when mixing them. But I think because the fruit punch is so close to like pink, it's really not too bad. It's not obviously a true like red or green. Like this green's a little bit more on the yellow side, the red's a little bit more on the pink side. This color is my favorite color in this one. I am a big fan. So where are we going to put it? We'll put it in here. And then I'm just going to lead this right into this empty spot. I'm just going to bring it right up. Because you always want to start off the page, even with the blending brushes. They do make it easier to blend out boo-boos, but you still want to start off the paper so you don't get, you know, those blotches. Nobody wants those blotches. And I'm just going to keep working it up until I get this area filled in with an intensity that I'm happy with. And that's going to be different for everybody. See, and I just did it. So now I'm just going to spend a little bit of time here blending to get rid of that mark that I previously made. Because sometimes it just happens like that, y'all. There will definitely be coloring. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I could not make a card. Well, I suppose I probably have over the years, but they've been few and far between. I'm just trying to get some more of this purple in. I'm fighting my desires to cover up the red because it is a very fall color. And surprisingly, the cranberry hero hues, like the cardstock, I really do like very much, even though I'm not a big fan of red. That's a very pretty color, and I can foresee myself using that a lot with my holiday cards. Okay, so this is kind of looking a little lackluster right now, and that's why we do it 2 times. Because right now everything is on there and there's one layer, but it's looking a little pale. Like it needs a little bit of like it needs a little bit of help to get vibrant. And so that is always why I choose to do it 2 times. The other thing is whatever color you go over with it last is going to be the color that you can really see. So if you want, you know, your red to be a bit more on the pink side, then you're going to want to use the berry smoothie last. If you want your orange or your green to be a bit more on the yellow side, then you're going to want to use your yellow last. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining that well. As you can see, as we're going through, it's getting a little bit darker, which is what we want. We want it to be a little bit more intense. We want the colors to blend a little bit better. And this prep stage is what's going to make the Copa coloring so easy when we get to that, because we've done all of the first layer basically with the ink blending. So if you're a person who, we all know how expensive alcohol markers are, and how expensive, even though you get a lot out of the refills, it's still quite pricey. So doing ink blending first will save you quite a bit of ink, which will save you money. And we all know I'm a cheap chicken. Yes, I am. And I'm okay with that. So now you can see that I'm going to do the red next, so that my yellow is more of my final color. And you certainly don't have to use all of these colors. I just like a rainbow of colors. That's just me. Everybody's different.
Hey, Kelly, did you change brushes with each color?
Yes. So I am changing, if somebody had asked that, I am changing brushes with each color of ink. So you can see we're still a little bit pale in here. It's not quite as intense. So I'm just gonna work my way in there. And I'm not using a ton of pressure, just a little bit of pressure, picking up ink as I need it. So I feel like I'm pretty happy with how that's going. So I need to add my last layer of lemon drop and my last layer of berry smoothie. I will say that this is giving my one right arm quite the workout. Which is funny because, like, carrying, for those of you who don't know me, and this is our first time being introduced, I have a 10-month-old baby. And because I am right-handed, I carry her around in my left. So my right hand is free to do, you know, other mom things. And so I'm getting quite the bicep on just my left arm, though, because that's the one, that's the one I use to carry all our weight. Okay. And now the last one, save the best for last. It's a berry smoothie. So pretty. And again, I'm going to leave this up so I can get into the center and make this just a little bit darker. Alternatively, if you have an area that you don't feel like you can get from one point to the other, after you ink up, if you tap it off, you can go in very softly directly to the card, but you got to tap it off. You can't just get in there, you know, right out the gate. If you do, like here, can you see this? You probably can't see it real well, but I just kind of have a little bit of a hard edge I don't love. This particular technique is very forgiving because you have to remember right now you can see everything in its entirety, but we are going to stamp on it, we're going to die cut it, and we're going to color on top of it. So there's going to be, this is just the first layer of what we've got going on. So even if you're like, this is trash, I don't like the way it looks, you know, I have these uneven lines or I have these marks, or like push through that, because it could still end up being super beautiful. I'm just going to clean up my surface before we move on. But anyway, push through that because it could end up being still super beautiful, because you're not going to see the full thing. This isn't the full piece in its entirety. So I need my Misty. If you guys watch my normal videos, will this fit on here? Oh, goody. You know that I recently redid my craft room, and my sister, well, both my sisters and my mom, it was like a family affair. Everybody had to get involved because it was such a mess. Such a mess. They came over and helped me organize my craft room, which was like the best gift ever. And my one sister, so here we're going to line this up. And I just want to double check that I'm going to have enough room, because like I'm not going to use this whole piece. See how we trimmed this off here? So I want to make sure that I can cut 2 of them out of this one piece of cardstock, even if that means scooting it down a smidge so that they both fit and can be die cut. So I'm just going to double check that I have enough room here. Let me pick this up. I want to double check it beforehand so that I can get it in the position that it needs to be. And I should mark it is what I should do. So that's what I'm going to do. Pencil. I do remember where the pencils were located. So this top part is right at the 6-inch line. So I'm just gonna, so I can make sure that when I flip it over, so it should be okay because this piece is the tallest piece and it should fit in right here. Alternatively, we could stamp it this way and then we would only fill up, maybe that might be better. I'm trying to remember how I did it. So here, no, this side, this way will not work. We're going this way. So we're just going to scoot it down. Here, if these little lines are in there a little bit, it's not going to matter because by the time we're done stamping it, no one's going to know. I don't know. Have you guys been watching reels? No one's going to know. How would they know? They're not going to know. No one's going to know. Okay. So now we're going to stamp this. I am not quite as daring as Shannon. She's the real hero here. I'm going to stamp this in intense black ink because this ink is safe for alcohol markers. She is brave enough to stamp this bad boy down 2 times and like restamp it after she colors. We are not the same people, me and Shannon. I am frightened of that. Several people ask me in my videos why I don't do that, why I outline them with a pen, and it's straight up because I am not brave enough. That's really what it comes down to. So I'm just going to stamp this down. What did Shannon? Oh, Shannon used a little scrubby thing. That's brilliant. I should try that. All right, let me just double check. Nope. All right, I'm going to stamp it 2 times. I'm going to stamp it again. That's the joy of having a stamping positioning tool. I do intend to do a craft room video at some point. I really think that I probably have to punish another person in my family to kind of walk around with the camera. And so when I find a victim to spend their time with me so I can shoot the video, I probably will. It will be very interesting for me because there we go, much better. Because I am used to talking to no one, you know, when I do my videos, like nobody's here. It's just me and my microphone, and it's the same way. So see how this fits right in here. So the die cutting shouldn't be an issue because they shouldn't be close enough together. See what I'm saying? And now we're going to stamp this one down. Dawn gets my joke. How will they know? They won't know. Oh, you tried the outline and you didn't like it? Were you using, sometimes, Linda, it can be your pen width. A lot of people don't know, unless you're somebody who uses fine liners, that there's all kinds of different pen widths, like the nib widths. And so you might have maybe had a larger nib that would make it look more bolder. That maybe was the problem. Or maybe you could tell me more about why you thought it was a hot mess so that I could assist in some way. I think a hint of the vase and pictures and additional perspective. Yeah, I think ultimately by the time that it's done though, you really can't see it. Look at how pretty that purple is. Loving that purple. which is strange because I'm not even really a purple fan. But this berry smoothie is like right on the border of a pink. It's like neighbors to pink. And I feel like we can be friends. So I'm going to stamp this down. And you could, you know, reactive inks work with water. So you could do splatters on this. You could do, we have an iridescent shimmer spray. Like you could take out, I do that a lot, take out the tubing and like splat it around to add some shimmer. You could do a lot of other things to this background. I just chose to keep it nice and simple. So now with the stamping done, we're going to go into the coloring. You'll volunteer to be my photographer. You would have to come to Northeast Ohio. It's not good weather here. Pretty in the fall, but not good weather. And so these are the colors that I picked. Let me hold them up for you so you can see. These are, hello, there we go. These are listed in a handout that Libby was talking to you about. And these are all listed. I will tell you, these may not be the same colors that you need. They're pretty close, and so I feel like we're going to be able to make them work. But I picked the colors based on how my ink blending came out, not necessarily because like I was specifically looking to these colors. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pick, like we're going to start in an area. So here to me, this looks more orange. So I'm going to go in with a YR04. And I'm not going to pay attention. Like Shannon's was very detailed, beautiful coloring. And hers was very specifically flowers and leaves. I don't care. I don't care which one it is. If it's orange, it's getting orange. And I'm just going to add just a little bit of shading. Not a ton. I'm not even filling up the whole thing. And in some of the cases, I'm just doing little dots. Some of them I'm doing lines. I'm just trying to add some extra bolder color to bring these flowers out from the background. So once I'm happy with this little section, I'm going to go on and I'm going to find my next orange section. And you can kind of venture into other sections if you should so choose. Like here, we're getting into a little bit of the pinks. I can add a little bit of orange on that, or on top of the yellows, you can add a little bit of orange on that. This big guy, this big furry guy here. What is he? Is he a cattail? I'm not positive. This to me does not look so much orange as it does the red. So I'm just going to leave this for now. And I'm going to move on to my next color, which I think is going to be the red. So then I'm just going to dot in. This is not a science. Like this is just putting in some colors where you think, you know, you want some added dimension. And again, this is not going to look fantastic at the time. It's okay. It's okay. We're just adding some extra dimension. And I think sometimes these cards, because they have so much creative liberty, that these ones are the ones that make people the most nervous, because it isn't necessarily like an A, B, C, D, like do step A, do step B. And it gives you a little bit more opportunity to take your own take on it. So I'm going to go back over this with a slightly lighter color just to blend that out, because while I am very interested in adding dimension, I do still want it to be kind of smooth. I'm not, though, paying a lot of attention, especially with these smaller ones, to the lines, because ain't nobody got time for that.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes.
Essie is asking, she's surprised that you can use Copics over reactive inks. Does it affect your nibs at all?
Oh, thank you. So no, I have never had any issue working with my Copic markers over inks, over really any kind of inks. You have to make that choice for yourself. Of course, you know, they're your investment. But I have never had an issue with any of the inks, whether it's reactive inks, the core inks, even oxides or distress inks. I've never had an issue.
And would you
Yeah,
think I said that maybe you could do the same technique with other things you like to color with. Do you think that's right? Like maybe if you like pencils, you'd still be able to do a similar
yeah,
technique?
absolutely. Yeah, you could do this with colored pencils if markers are not your bag. You could do this. You if you're going to add water, like because of the reactive inks, you're going to start moving pigments around and you're going to get more of a faux watercolor look. But you could use water-based markers. You could use colored pencils. You could use, we're going to go over here and get these greens now. Really any coloring medium that is not water reactive, because of the reactive inks. If you start bringing in anything that has water in it, you're going to reactivate the ink below, which will move your pigment. So this is really the only spot where I had any green, but I am going to kind of add in a couple of other little areas. And I'm going to try to be a little bit selective about where I put it, so that I don't make mud. But so like here over some of the purples, I feel like I can bring in a little bit. I could bring in a little bit over here with the orange just to kind of balance my design a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact, but I know when I am looking at it, I would like for there to be a little bit more of the colors. And remember how we talked about yellow being the buffer color? What kind of paper are you using? Oh, it's Hero Arts Dove White cardstock. So I'm gonna go in with the yellow. Yellows are buffer color for a lot of these fall type cards, and I'm just gonna bring in the yellow, and I'm gonna start blending this with my greens, but I'm also gonna use it to blend some of my oranges as well. I'm gonna fill in the centers of these little red guys, and you can even use it because of the purple is so close to a pink. You can use the yellow over this and not really have any sort of issue. So like here, these, they are definitely pods, I think. But I'm going to use that to blend those, blend out a little bit of my oranges over here. And this doesn't have to be, don't make it so challenging. Just get in there and put some color down, because you can see, obviously, now we have these two, adding the color versus not adding the color. This is still very pretty, but this is very bold. So this is the purple color I selected, which is an RV66. It matches the berry pretty well. And this is another situation where I only have this one purple section. And so I am going to go in and just kind of add it to some of the other ones. You're going to be like, Kelly, that doesn't even match. Hang tight. We're going to make it work. If you watch my channel, this is probably something that you know quite a bit about because I talk about it a lot. But when you're mixing Copic markers, and I can't speak to other alcohol markers, but I know that it's true of Copics. When you're mixing them together, if your end number, so in this case it's the 6, in this case it's the 9, the 8, you get the gist of it. If they are close together, that's how you're going to get colors that will blend well. So this was a RV66. I'm going over it with a Y38. The 8 is relatively close to 6, so they should have no problem blending into each other. And this is just another way that you can kind of get more out of what you have. Aren't we all trying to do that? So for this one, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. And so I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing to the other side. I'm just trying to, sorry, I'm just trying to look at the comments. It's hard because it's on my laptop and I can't see the top of my phone. So then here we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to start by looking for the ones that are in kind of that color family. This is a Y38, which is in the yellow family, but it is a hair on the orange side. But there is no intention on my part for having them, oh look, I didn't blend that out. For having them be super matchy-matchy. I'm just going to put down a little bit of color and then just kind of work my way around the image. The intention of this technique is for it to be very easy, very simple, so that it's not, it's not something you're stressing out about. Because isn't card making supposed to be fun? I know it is for me. Even now that it's my full-time job. Even now that it's my full-time job, it's still fun. So there's a lot of reds and oranges on this side. There isn't a lot of green on this one, so I'll probably have to manufacture some areas that I can put the green into. Just because I had a real problem with being matchy-matchy. It's totally not necessary, but we are who we are. You know what I'm saying? We are who we are. This one, I'm adding a little bit of darker color behind it so that it will pop forward. It's just another way you can get some dimension. The chisel nib will do me no good. So, yeah. I know I was very impressed with Shannon's coloring. If you missed the card earlier, you'll have to check it out because these smaller images can be very challenging. And unfortunately, sometimes I think that people see them and they're like, oh, well, I can't do that, which is not true, by the way. But she had some really good advice for how to tackle it when you find it to be a little bit overwhelming, which is to just go by flower type and then, just work your way around the image. And actually, I was surprised by how fast it went just with her going, looking for those specific flower types with each color. I think she actually like kind of assigned a color to each flower type. All right, so now we're working on the green. And this yellowish band I've got going on here, that's kind of where I'm going to follow to add my green because yellow and green work so well together. I don't really have to worry about it being an issue. And of course, adding it to any of the leaves would never be problematic because your brain kind of expects your leaves to be green. So we'll add a little bit there. That way, just so all the colors are represented. I add just a bit of shading to some of these other ones, just to make them more interesting to look at. Forgot this little guy down here. Oh, Essie, good for you. Girl, you courageous. You are courageous, stamping over your coloring. I don't have it in me. I do not have it in me. Now I'm just going in and adding some of that little purple. There was not a ton of purple over here when I did my ink blending. Not that that's something that's a big deal, because as you can see, we're just kind of adding it back in, but if you have a car or a color, you're like, I super love that color, I want it to be prevalent, then I would make sure when you're ink blending that you kind of make that happen. So I think I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. Just blending out some of these other ones. Okay, so now they're both done. You can see how much bolder they are than the background. And another thing that we're going to do to kind of setting this up, you could do exactly what Shannon did, which is like stamp over if you wanted it to be bolder. What I'm going to do is I am going to add in some highlights to just make the details more apparent. So I just wanted to show you, I got a bunch over here. What is this? That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, well, these two are. So this one's hard to see because it's a white label, but this actually says 08, and this one is a 10. And so the thickness of which kind of ink you're getting to come out is different. Here, scrap piece of paper. So this is the 10, and it has a lot. It's a very fat line. This is the 8 and has much less. So it just depends on what you're going for. Because this image is a bit smaller and a bit more detailed, I'm going to go with the 8 because I think that it will give me more control. So in the original card, totally like haphazard. Like I went through and did some kind of flicks here to add some highlights to my little fuzzy guy, my little fuzzy branches. I'm going to add some to the center of the flower here, maybe along a couple of the petals. This isn't anything that you have to kind of stress about. I tend to stick towards, here, these ones are fuzzy. We're going to do more little flicks. Flicks, 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 flicks. And they're not going to necessarily be solid because you're moving your pen so quickly, but that's okay. They don't need to be, especially on those fuzzy parts. And also on the fuzzy parts, you want to make sure you're overlapping some of the black line because it's going to make it look like it's actually fuzzy. For the little pods, I will highlight their, I guess, are they holes? Are they seeds? What are they? I don't know. I don't know the answer to my own question. So just going to go through. If you want so we can start to see, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but if you want something that's a little bit bolder, you can use a heavier line. I think I actually used the 10 now looking at it. I think is what I used. But I don't, for the fuzzies, I don't, I'm not comfortable with the 10. I feel like it's going to put down too much ink. So I'm going to stick with the 8 for my fuzzy guys. But maybe I'll switch over to the 10 for the centers and stuff.
Kelly, how do you decide how many white highlights are enough versus too many, as he's asking us?
So in this card, I did not worry at all whatsoever about having too many highlights. I highlighted everything. Simply because this is the focal point of my card. And so I wanted to make sure that the eye was drawn to this. And, oh, I gotta do some more fuzzies. And so it didn't really bother me with how many white highlights I had going on. This is probably considerably more than I would add to most cards or most images, but there's a lot of flowers and things in here to add them to. So I just kind of go through and add them till I'm happy. Usually I add them, you know, to the flower centers, maybe along a petal or two along a leaf. And so here you can see how this is just kind of a little bit brighter versus this one that has none of the highlights. It just makes it a little bit more interesting. Just kind of like the way that Shannon overstamped hers. Makes it so it's a bit bolder. There's a bit more drama. That's pretty much what the highlights are doing for us in this card, is just giving us a bit more flair for the dramatic, if you will, which I am a big fan, not of drama in my life, but of drama on my cards, because I think it just makes them, you know, look more like it took more effort than it did, I guess. Just kind of make them a little bit of a wow moment. And it really does not take very long. I know, you guys remember back in the day, Kathy Rakusin used to use the white gel pen. And like she would do dots over her whole cards, and they were just absolutely stunning. And a lot of people were like, oh my gosh, that much take forever. And like I remember the first time I tried it and I was like, actually, it doesn't really take that long. And the end result is kind of worth the effort. And for this particular set, which is great about this image, there's kind of, it's such a full bouquet. You don't really have to be too cautious about how many you're adding, because there's so much happening. So now that both of these are done, you do want to give them like a minute to dry. You don't want to put your die cut through while they're still wet, but the white gel pen dries relatively quickly. I am going to flip this back around. So I'm going to put my die in place, and then I am going to use a little bit of tape to hold it in place as soon as I grab it, because normally when I'm filming, there's this whole other section of my desk that that would be around here that is my camera stand, but I moved it to put my phone stand here, and I put my tapes on my I like my little parts of my tapes. I put them on the base of my camera stand. So I gotta get new tapes. And this one, apparently I picked the worst one. So I'm just going to, and I don't like to put my tape over my image. I like to kind of put it on the outskirts of my die, just in case, God forbid, there is an opportunity for it to rip something. I would rather have it rip my background piece than rip the piece I just spent time coloring. So I'm going to set that over here, and I'm going to grab my die cutting machine real quick. Wow, that is just massive on the screen, isn't it? I'm going to put this in place. You will notice that I have just a little paper shim. It's not really for pressure. It's to protect my cardstock from anything. Like, it keeps my top plate clean so that it doesn't, there's no, nothing yucky that gets on my card. I've had it quite a few times where I had color things transfer to my plate, and was just not happy with the way that it transferred the color. I apologize because I'm probably bumping you all over the place. So this one is done. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and then I will die cut out the other one. See, it's new tape. It's new tape, y'all. You got to be aware. This is why we can't risk it. Normally I have them for a few uses before I commit to putting them on my, oh, one stuck, before I commit to putting them on my piece. So now I'm going to line this up so I can die cut this one. Come on, friend. And then we will do the same thing. That was really the bulk majority of the card making, was those two images. Because now all we have left is the sentiment and assembly. So the tape that I actually, this is just washi tape. I have used a couple of different masking tapes with good results. The purple tape is okay-ish. I'm going to be honest with you. There are times when if I use the purple tape like brand new, I get a problem. But the other thing that you can do to help yourself is when you're removing your tape, if you remove it at an angle, it, for some reason, and I don't know why, it cuts down on ripping your paper. Alternatively, if you are starting to pull your tape up and you notice that it is ripping, stop pulling it up from that side and pull it up from the opposite side. Because even if you've pulled up your first layer of paper, you can always glue it back in place. If you have straight ripped it off, it's going to be a lot more challenging. Long shot Louis, that is an excellent tip to put it on your clothing a couple of times. I usually stick mine to my hand a couple of times. Oh my gosh, sorry. So loud. Yeah, that's an excellent tip. That definitely does work. So now we have our two pieces parts here, and then we are going to move on to the sentiment. For that, this is hands down. Y'all look at that. Just look at this cardstock. This is the Plum cardstock from Hero Arts. And it's, I mean, I love this color for fall. I'm in love with it. I love it so much. I think I used it on every single card that I created with this kit, this Plum cardstock. So I'm going to put this out. I'm going to pull out my So Thankful. I chose a little bit of a bigger sentiment to kind of carry the top portion of my card, since this design is very bottom heavy. I'm going to scoop this up. Nope, this way. I'm going to line this up in the corner. And then I like to just pick a corner. So that way I'm saving, like, then these two sides are already cut for me and I only have to worry about cutting it here and there. So I'm going to get this so it's straight. Pick that up. And then I'm going to treat it with my anti-static tool.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes.
Deb mentioned that every kind of white gel pen that she's tried, it turns a shade of the color she puts them on. Any thoughts on that? Maybe
Okay.
I don't know if she's tried Jelly Roll, but
Yeah. So to the comment about your gel pen changing colors. So I ink this up with our embossing and watermark ink, and then I'm going to stamp it down, and I will be heat embossing in our white detail embossing powder. So honestly, what I have found is it depends on the medium I'm using. If I'm using watercolors, that I have noticed that it does pick up the color that's underneath it. I don't typically have that problem with Copic markers. So see, like here, this is still a true white, and I made this card at the end of August. Like this is still a true white. But there are other color, well, I have had that experience, and I really think that it just depends on the medium that you're using. It's not the pen. I know that there was a bunch of other white pens that were like all the rage for years, the Signo, all of that. I have always been a Sakura Jelly Roll girl, and that is still my preferred pen. That's the one that I have the best luck with. So that's what I stick with. I have to turn on my embossing tool, so it's going to get loud here for a minute. Gonna sprinkle this on. Normally I would preheat my gun just to be transparent. Normally I would just have it running the whole time I was doing this, so that way it was getting nice and hot, and I would reduce the chances that I'm going to warp my paper. But obviously I'm not doing that because we're live, and I don't think you want to listen to my heat gun run the whole time we're doing this. So here we go. Magic's about to happen. I do not care how many years I have been a card maker, crafter, scrapbooker, fill in the blank. Heat embossing is still magical to me every single time. Every single time. It's even better when it's metallics, but you guys know I like a good white. So Shannon showed the ruler option. I prefer my paper cutter, but my paper cutter has this wire in it right here, so I can see when I put it down where it's going to cut, so I can get my spacing. Scoot it back just a little bit, and then that's got a pretty good gap. Back it up to like there. And then my little label is done. If for some reason I have not had good luck with the spacing, I will typically just go in and trim it with my scissors, or sometimes when my blade gets dull, let's see if I can get some out there. Like sometimes I can get some fuzzies. That is, just to be clear, in this situation, not the paper's fault. That's my fault for having kind of a dull blade. And then I will just take my scissors down the side, not even on the actual cardstock, just next to it, and trim those off. So now all we have left is assembly. Didn't it go so fast? So I always like to lay out all of my card before I adhere anything, just to make sure I'm happy with the way that it's looking. And these are going to overlap. So pick the one you like the best and then put that one on top. That's what I do. So I'm going to put this here and put this one here. You can obviously scoot it over. In my card, I didn't want, there's a piece of tape still on there, guys. I didn't want the white edges, so I just took it all the way to the edge, and then I'm going to line these up, and then I will trim off the sides, and we will pop this up, and then we'll be done. All right, so let's get our glue. So I want this one on top because it has that purple in it, which is what I'm totally going for. So I'm going to adhere this one down first. Just trying to check and see if anybody's got any questions. I know sometimes I miss them. This, I will tell you already, I am really bad at guesstimating what is going to be hanging over the edge. So rather than risk that I don't have any glue where I need it, I always just put down glue everywhere. And then wipe it up off my craft surface. So this is going down flat. And then this one will as well. There will be like a smidge of a little bump where they overlap each other, but nothing that's a huge deal. I love liquid glue. It's so my preferred adhesive. I like the wiggle room I get. All right, so now this is lined up on the bottom. This is why the liquid glue is important. See, because I didn't have it all the way to the edge and I want it all the way in the edge. So I just scooched it over. And then that's going to go down flat. Here, I have my little glue overhangs. I'm just going to wipe those off. And then I will take my scissors and trim this unwanted portion off. Doing it from the back is so much easier because you can see where that line is of your actual card front to follow. So now we've got that done, which you could, like I did mine as a vertical, but you could certainly put this as a horizontal card and put your sentiment maybe down here in the right-hand corner, and it would be beautiful. Or you could keep it as a vertical design and do this at the top and your sentiment at the bottom. There's a lot of different options that you can do. So here's my sentiment. I have some foam adhesive I'll be using. I know, Libby, are you questioning whether or not it's a purple? You are, in fact, the guru on what is or is not purple. I feel like it's a purple pink. That's what I think. So this is just a smidge wider than what I need. So I'm just gonna cut this right in half. That way it stays connected. I'm just eyeballing it here. We're all just winging it in life, you know? Just wing it. Hey, I did pretty good though. Look at that. And then I'm gonna remove this. I'm gonna use my grid mat here to make sure this is straight. I'm gonna pick it up with my tweezers so that I can see it before I commit to where I'm putting it. And that looks pretty even to me. Let me just double check. Because normally, yep, I'm good with it. So then we'll just push that down. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So you can, of course, add some shimmers to it, or you could add some gems or sequins or whatever. But I think it's pretty just the way it is, letting the flowers be the focal point. So thank you guys so much for joining me. It was a ton of fun to do this and to go live and kind of chat with you. And thank you to Hero Arts, of course, for letting me rep the team. And so I will turn it back over to Libby.
I did it again. Thank you, Kelly. That was amazing. We're so happy to have you doing a live for us. That was super exciting and your card's beautiful. So guys, thank you for joining today. If you joined late, just a reminder that this will be available for replay both on YouTube and Facebook after we're all done. And I did pick some winners randomly. I kind of scrolled back and forth in the comments and stopped randomly to pick a couple winners. And so to win, let's see, I'll say Kelly's card and Shannon's card. Shannon's card is going to go to Tracy Abrams, who was watching on YouTube. So congratulations, Tracy. And Kelly's card will go to Essie Cards. Essie, congratulations. And to Tracy, congratulations. Essie was watching on Facebook. So if you guys would email info@heroarts.com, you can claim your card prizes and we'll get them mailed out to you. And I'll put that in the comments as well after this ends. I do want to mention that our next make along is going to be November 13th, and I'm going to just pop this up for a second here. Our latest kit is the October kit, which is this one. And this is what we'll be creating with on November 13th. I think there's still a few available, but it was close to selling out at the end of the week. So if you want to get this kit and make along with us on November 13th, I highly recommend you get it. This is the October My Monthly Hero kit. And if you were inspired today by the cards that Shannon and Kelly made, the September kit is also still available on our website. This is the September My Monthly Hero kit. So with that, I will say goodbye and thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you again next month. So take care, everybody.